Welcome back to Auxano. Thank you so much for tuning back in. Today I have a new awesome guest back here at our podcast studio at Assembly Norfolk. And as per usual, we're going to play Let's Get Deep, but I figure I should give the guests the honor of introducing themselves moving forward from this time around. So,
hello, everyone. My name's Angelene. I have a YouTube channel, and I trade in the foreign exchange market as well.
all right. That was as good of an intro as it could get. Very professional. Yeah, I love it. So, as per usual, we do play a game called Let's Get Deep. And so it starts off with icebreaker, deep, and deeper. So I'm just going to slide you the cards over really quick.
Are we doing both, or am I just picking
So
one?
you look at both, and then you choose between left or right. And then if you could read it to the audience, whichever one you choose.
Okay.
Yeah. Take this really quick. Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to use this one because this is a funny story. Have you ever met any celebrities? Who and where? So I actually met Mark Henry. I don't know if y'all know him, but he's a WWE wrestler.
Okay.
I met him at a Comic-Con because my cousin actually was in the Comic-Con. And I met him there, and it was pretty interesting. I was like, wow, I watched you when I was 11, and now I'm meeting you. So, yeah. That was an interesting time.
All right. Very cool. Moving on to level 2. It would be deep.
Okay.
Just give me 2 cards. I'll take these.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to choose this one. This one is, if you won the lottery, what would you spend your money on? I would definitely just take my family and friends on a trip. Like, that would be the first thing I would do, is just give money to all my loved ones and be like, let's go on this trip, let's go have some fun, and just like enjoy life for a little bit, because everybody deserves a stress reliever every now and then. And if you get a lump sum of money, you might as well have some fun for a little bit, and then obviously later on do your investing. But you got to treat yourself too. So. Yeah.
Where would you take the friends and family?
I think I would take the friends to Italy, because I have a lot of friends that want to go out of the country, and we've talked about Italy many times. And so I think I want to do that. And then for family, probably somewhere fun, like, I don't know, Disney World or like a family cruise or something. But yeah, just experiences in general is something that I want to spend my money on in general. But obviously later on, keeping up with investing and putting towards, cash flow. But yeah.
I do want to footnote that and come back to it, because there's definitely points on interest that I have, because I'm a real estate investor.
Okay.
But you also trade Forex, but more on that later. So
yes, definitely.
Moving on to level 3, this is deeper.
Oh, gosh. Oh, these are good questions.
They're good card games.
All right, I'm going to do this one. This one says, have you ever struggled with your self-esteem, and how did you handle that? I have struggled with my self-esteem a lot in my life. Even to this day, I struggle with self-esteem. I think with me, it's more of just building my confidence, because I realized throughout a lot of like self-reflection and introspection, I realized that I feed off of a lot of other people's validation towards me, whether it be friends, a partner, whatever. So I'm handling it by doing more things alone, and I feel like doing more things alone gives me more confidence in just like, I can do this. I don't need somebody to tell me I'm doing a good job or tell me I'm doing right. Building up my confidence and just figuring out what it is that I want, like who I am, and then accepting that and learning how to grow within those layers of myself that I am. So
I love it. So, moving on to our opening question. I've never changed this question. I don't think I ever will. It is, what did you want to do when you were a child?
When I was a child, my biggest dream was to be an actress and be in movies and shows, just because I just love it. I don't know. There's just something about watching people act in like movies and plays and musicals. It just feels like you can be somebody else for a little bit and express in a way, like create a whole character in your head and just become that for a period of time. It's pretty cool. It's a cool art.
Yeah. Now that you are no longer a child, what life advice would you give that child?
In terms of career or just life in general?
We'll go with career, and then we'll go with life advice.
Okay. In terms of career, I would say keep your mind open to other possibilities in what you could become, because I really wanted to be an actress, and like I just kind of was just just set on that throughout my life. But it only recently changed, and so I'm just saying, like, there's so many other outlets that you could have within that, like creative industry, and just keep your mind open to that. For life advice, I would say to expect change and just accept it when it happens, because change is good. And whenever we think about change, we always think about bad, like, oh, that's changing, that's scary, that's what's going to happen. But I've learned to embrace change now, and growing up I was afraid to step out of my comfort zone a lot. And I would just say to step out a lot more and just be confident in yourself and learn how to push yourself out there more.
Yeah. On change, especially because of your YouTube, which congratulations on the start and the growing success of it.
Thank you.
Would you consider yourself in the minimalism space, or like do you have like a set brand?
Yeah, so I started my channel with more minimalism and lifestyle / wellness, just because minimalism has really helped me kind of like focus on the things that actually matter in my life. And with wellness and life, like a wellness lifestyle, I feel like they kind of coincide together. So I'm trying to kind of balance the niche of like being completely minimalist and then also just being like a lifestyle vlogger, because I just like to show my life as well, and I think people like to see a vulnerable side of you. Even at least that's how I like to view it. I like to see a more vulnerable side of people in their everyday life, because sometimes content out there like minimalists and just wellness YouTubers in general, they show like a really perfect aesthetic. And for me, it's like not that at all. Like, I'm not perfect. I don't have a perfect wardrobe or like a perfectly decorated room or anything. So I like to kind of show both sides of that. Like, you can be a minimalist, but you can also be a work in progress too.
Yeah. How has life changed once you adopted that philosophy?
It's changed very drastically, because I will say this year has been the biggest like transformative year for me. I decided actually to take up minimalism last December when I wanted to start my YouTube channel back up. And it just taught me a lot of things. Like, minimalism isn't just about having less stuff. Like, you can have a decent amount of things, but minimalism is about only having the things in your life that bring value to your life and you actually use. And that goes with things like clothes, like the amount of clothes you have. It has to be actually what you use, what you wear. Everything has a purpose in your life. But even with the friends in your life, like, only the people in my life that are actually going to, be there for me in my life and actually provide value in my life and help me become better, and I can help them become better. And then like family as well, like, you realize that not everybody's supposed to be in your life, And that also goes with everything extra to like your whole lifestyle in general. Like, is this food, good for me? Like, all of this excess of everything is like, what's bringing actual value into my life? Is this healthy for me in my life? And it just goes to all areas. And I feel like it's really changed my life into helping me hone in on and focus on what's best for me completely. So
What was the hardest thing that you had to give up?
I actually went through a breakup this year, and I was with him for like 2.5 years, and we lived together for 1.5 years. And I would say that he was probably the hardest thing I had to give up this year, because I initiated the breakup, just because I realized throughout a lot of like self-reflection that this relationship wasn't bringing me enough value, and I was compromising myself a lot, and I was hurting a lot because of it. And I had to be selfish in that point and like kind of just, I love this person, but I have to let go. But ever since then, it's been, I feel like doors have started to open for me in terms of opportunity, because I've been letting myself open up to the hard decisions, I guess, and actually following through with them.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that when one door closes, another one opens. And oftentimes because like the worst thing you lose is going to be the worst thing you lose. Whether it be a relationship, a friend, maybe an animal, maybe a mom or dad. But it's always going to be like the worst pain that you experience. You personally, how did you move past? Did you sit with the pain? Or what was your healing process like?
With the breakup?
Yeah.
So I learned that you should sit with the pain, and you should go through. In order to, the saying is, the only way out is through. And I like to think about that a lot when it comes to hard points in my life, because if I hadn't sat with the emotions and dealt with the feelings, then I'd just be putting it off for another time. And it's always going to be there if I don't deal with it. So I did sit with the pain a lot. I did a lot of journaling, a lot of therapy, and just a lot of like talking it out as well. And I also, but I feel like there's like a balance between that I've learned that you should have a balance between like sitting with the pain and also distracting yourself, because there was a point where I was going out more and trying to hang out with friends more, just trying to like find new people to hang out with all the time, because I was lonely, I was sad too. And I think the biggest difference between those 2 points, between distracting yourself and going through it and sitting with it, is awareness. Because I was aware when I was distracting myself that this was a distraction, that this wasn't necessarily helping me heal, but I needed this right now in the moment.
Yeah, I think a healing process is always so interesting, right? Like it might look like one way to another person.
Yeah.
But have you been giving your grace in that period? Or I'm sorry, have you been giving yourself grace in this period of reflection?
Yeah, definitely. Because there's a lot of times where I feel a lot of guilt and a lot of shame, like, for giving up. You could say it. You could say I was giving up on a relationship, or I was giving up on somebody, or betraying them, or whatever, for choosing to leave. So I did sit with a lot of that guilt, but I also give myself a lot of grace and not blaming myself, because if something just doesn't feel right for me, then I can't force myself to make it feel right. It just has to be there, and I'm not going to like, if there's something pulling me another way, I'm not going to I feel like it's calling me, and if that's not calling for me anymore, it's just an instinct that you have, I think.
I think, in my opinion, the courage to let go of something. Actually, I do want to talk about this because are you full Filipino?
I'm like a quarter white.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, I gotcha. mostly Filipino.
Yeah, mostly.
Are your parents like hoarders?
Hoarders?
Yeah, like do they hoard objects?
My mom is,
Okay.
and my grandma. But my dad's just like, eh.
I gotcha. Yeah, it's actually like with my mom. I've noticed that she has, because of how our moms grew up. They just have this affinity for a thing because growing up they didn't have anything.
Yeah. Heard a lot.
Yeah, and I find that if certain things to certain people mean one thing, but as Thomas Jefferson says, or I'm not sure if it's actually Thomas Jefferson, but he says every action has its equal opposite reaction. In this regard, like it probably doesn't make sense from like a minimalism perspective, but I think that the wording could be applied, mostly just because when you keep something in your life and there's not really any use, oftentimes it collects a space and it prevents growth for the new thing to come in. But I also do believe that, and this is like my personal conjecture, is every single thing or person that has been in your life was meant to be there. I actually call it the mosaic theory, to where, like, even meeting you and podcasting with you today, the mosaic theory in my head states that because I got to listen to what your beliefs are and I got to know who you are becoming, that in and of itself influences me. So for you, who influences you the most in this current season?
In this current season, can it be a group?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say in this current season right now, my volleyball team, my volleyball friends, they influence me the most because it's been a hard like 2.5, 3 years for me. And I haven't had a lot of friends in my life in a while. And actually meeting them and so it was the one girl we went to high school together, and she invited me on their team to play this past season. And I was really nervous because I was like, I hadn't played volleyball in like years and since high school, and I don't really know everyone other than like one other person. So it was really scary. But going there, I've just learned so much from them in general, and I feel like a sense of belonging, and they're just so sweet and like just fun to be around, and I just feel calm around them and safe. But they influence me in a way that like brings me back into my culture because they're all Filipino, and I haven't had like a lot of friends in the past couple years, but especially Filipino friends, and a lot of things happened with my family too within those last years, so it's like I've been kind of like distanced from them too. So being with my team a lot more recently, it's really helped me get back into my culture. And then also religion, because I mean that's a whole nother topic, but they've kind of like introduced me into religion, not even by force or anything. It was just because they are who they are. It's made me realize I want to look into it even more. So, but yeah, and they're just super kind, and I really enjoy being around them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What religion, if you don't mind me asking? Is it Christianity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think most of them are Christian. I think some are Catholic. I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree,
Kind
like,
of.
yeah, like to a degree, I would say yes, because it follows under like the Holy Bible.
Yeah,
I would imagine. But how has that walk been?
The religion one?
Yeah.
It's still starting. We'll see. But I will say I did go to kind of like a young adult night at one of the churches, which I was really, really nervous to go to. But lately I've been like, if something makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm just going to do it because that'll help me build my confidence, you know, and it's something I can also learn about myself. So I was like, you know, let me go. And so I went, and it was awesome. Like, it was a feeling of like safety, I guess, when I was there. But also I still felt detached because it was like I hadn't started my relationship with God or anything yet. So I was like, I'm like here and I feel this, but like I haven't started it yet. So it's like there's still so much I have to learn. But actually after that moment, I met this girl there, and one of my volleyball teammates was there too because they invited me. And I met the one of the pastors, and he asked me to come meet with him and this other lady, and we sat down like a couple of days later, and he just told me about how to have a relationship with God, and just kind of like walked me through. He got me a Bible and like a little like Christian, like a new Christian booklet thing. So I am going to start looking at it's really recent, like it's like the last 2 weeks that's when it happened. But so yeah, it's still a journey. But I was telling him that I've been feeling like this calling lately to like do more things, and like, you know, maybe I joined this team to meet these people, to bring me into religion, to bring me into my culture. Like I have to figure it out. I have to follow it, and I have to, you know, see where it'll take me. So yeah.
That's super interesting because I've always felt this honor obligation, I want to say. It's why I joined the military, because a lot of Filipino men have joined the Navy as a way to get out of the Philippines, I would imagine back then. But what do you feel called to? Like, are you just moving in proximity to your goals?
I'm not sure yet. I feel called to a lot of things. Like the main thing is mostly inspiring and helping people out. And I think the more that I go through, and even like the more mistakes I make, the more doors I walk through, like the religion, the culture thing, and the more I walk through just helps me. It helps me feel like I can talk about it like on my YouTube channel, or like just to friends in general, or family even, to help them in some way, just to be more open, because I think being more open to just everything is how we should live life. Like I feel like, well, personally how I want to live life is just staying open, because I feel like we as humans have just so much potential. So I just feel called to figuring out everything there is to know about who I can become and how I can help others in the process of that.
Yeah. In my personal opinion, and I think that you'd agree, that I think there is no higher calling than to inspire other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is not only like an honor, but because you've been inspired, it almost is, the way I see it, it is almost a responsibility to then inspire others, if you can. More on that, because the way that you present yourself like on your YouTube channel is just authentic. It's like just sprawled with authenticity. It's already difficult to be like a content creator and to put yourself out there. But where do you find the courage to continue to do it?
Sometimes it's really hard, honestly, because I'll post a video and then I'm like, oh, maybe I said too much, or now I'm cringing. But recently I've just been like, you know what? I don't know. I think it's just like, I'm just tired of hiding things. I'm just tired of pretending like I'm okay, or it's something, or with feelings, and I'm just tired of acting like everything's good. I feel like there's a lot of people my age that like just pretend like they're fine, they're living their best life or whatever, and like maybe they are, but like there's hard times out there too. Like there's a balance for everything, where there's good, there's bad. Like there's always something that is gonna try to knock you down. And I think for me it's just like if I just practice being more open with how I feel and being okay with letting it out, then it would help others as well. But it will also help me, because if I'm okay with sharing these things, then it's going to help me feel more closure with these things in a way, because it's like I can release it. I read this book, The Untethered Soul. I forgot who it's by. I think it's like Michael A. Singer or something. But he talks about, this book really helped me, by the way. But this book talks about our thoughts and emotions and how they're basically just objects in space, just like everything around us, like chair, a table. Like you just walk by it. You don't really acknowledge the chair there. You don't sit on it and you're like, oh my gosh, this chair is crazy. Like, wow. But we do that with our thoughts. We are like, oh, this thoughts came in my head. I'm going to just think about it all the time and be like, oh, I'm gonna overthink. I'm going to get anxious now. And like this thought turns into that thought. And that's just building energy in those thoughts. So for me, I'm like, if I just have the thought and I release it immediately and not fester on it, then maybe it'll help me get them out and like just not like, I don't know, not like overthink about it.
Yeah.
So
just the execution.
Yeah, like taking that energy out. And I just also just want to be truthful on my channel. Like like I said earlier, there's a lot of creators that look like they're perfect and like look like they have this perfect life, and I just know it's just never gonna be possible for me because I'm not gonna be perfect, and I don't even want to show that I'm perfect, because there's a calmness, there's a comfortability in knowing that you're not alone in your mess, you know? So that's what I strive to be for others as well.
I think it's called the spotlight effect, where if kind of like what you were saying with the chair, like it's just a chair.
Yeah.
But the spotlight effect being like maybe even starting the YouTube or me starting the podcast. I think before we both started, we were probably just in our head like, oh my gosh, like people are gonna make fun of me.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be bad at it. Or maybe it was the comparison is the thief of joy trope, where you were just constantly comparing yourself to maybe like Matt Diavella or like the minimalists on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think that, like just execution and action and just believing in your present so that your future could flourish, it takes a lot of bravery. It takes a lot of courage.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one question I wanted to ask you is, do you get offended when somebody applauds your strength or your courage, or is it more of a compliment to you?
It's
like,
more
like you feel like, oh, like I'm undeserving of it.
No, I feel like it's a compliment. Yeah, because I think that I honestly like those type of compliments the most. Like when people say, I admire your courage, or like I'm inspired by what you said. And especially when I'm being open and vulnerable about something in my life, I think it's a great compliment. It shows me that I'm doing something right by being vulnerable.
Yeah.
At least helping somebody, even if it's one person.
Do you rely on the outward affirmation, or is your inward affirmation just as strong?
I think at this point my inward affirmation is strong, but I will say it wasn't when I first started. Like I was very scared, I was very nervous, and I don't know, but there was something inside of me that was like, I had like a burning desire inside. I had like something that was telling me, like calling to me, like, this is going to work out for you, and just do it, because it just be as you as possible. And I've been doing that, and it's been working so far. And even when people because I have gotten comments too of people like just saying stuff about my life or my minimalism, the way I handle minimalism, and it's just like it just doesn't really sting anymore, because I'm like, you're one comment out of like maybe like 4 or 5 or 10 others that is that's negative. Like, why am I gonna sit and fester on that one?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Do you still feel the inward pressure to get to like, oh, I need to get to 50,000 subscribers. I need to get to 100. I need to get to 1 million.
Yeah, I do feel that pressure sometimes still because I'm still very, very new. So I'm like, having 50K would be so nice. Like that would just be just right for me because I don't even need to have like 100. I don't need to have 1 million. Just enough for me to have this workout as a career so that I can go and do other things and like help my family, help friends, and do it full time because I genuinely do love doing it too. So yeah, I still have that pressure, but I don't push it on myself too much. I'm like, it's gonna happen. It's only a matter of time, honestly.
Yeah. Give me your advice on this too, because I told myself that, like, even like all this, like with the podcasting, with the show, like I'm planning to have it be a bookshelf on YouTube. So hopefully that in the next 3 years, like this just stays a constant. Like, hopefully by then I'll have. I think I was like trying to calculate it by 3 years. Hopefully I'll have around like 150 episodes like, posted. And I was told that in order to make it past, I think it was like the 80% that quit, you just have to have over 21 episodes. So how do you have the patience? I'm really just asking for advice, like the patience to see like the videos go from like 200 and then maybe to like 0 the next day. And then like it stays 0 for like a while and then it dips to like 1 view.
I know. Oh, I mean, see, that's a hard one because it's like when I started my YouTube channel, I stockpiled like 20 videos. Like I posted 20 videos in May of 2023 and then I got monetized that month because I was like, if I put a niche, content out there and I just work really hard for like, I worked on those videos for like 5 months without even starting the channel. So and when I started it, it was doing fairly well because it was minimalism. So those videos got like thousands of views. And now when I post my vlogs, the more vulnerable ones, the more like, just like, hey, this is the day of my life, whatever, it gets like 100 views, which is still a good amount. But I'm like, it didn't do as good as the other ones. So for me, I'm just realizing that like, it's really just my belief, honestly. It's really just my belief that it's going to happen to me someday and it's only a matter of time. So I think it's really, you just have to have the burning passion for it. Like you have to like really love what you do. Yeah. And so no matter how many views I get or how much money I've been making off of it, like honestly, at this point, I just want to be consistent. I just want to stay consistent. And I want to just build a story on my channel. Yeah. And right now, I think coming up on like 6 months or 7 months of doing it, I have already kind of built this story of like, hey, I'm starting minimalism. And then they know I went through a breakup. They know I moved out. They know I'm living with my mom now again. And they're seeing like this evolution of me. And they know, I mean, if they're paying attention, they know like my whole like life this year thus far. And I just want to build the story and build people's, I guess, trust, and then with consistency. And when they see me start getting even better, like going into next year, I just can't wait to see people be like, look, I've been watching you from when you were down and you're up, you're doing good. And I don't know, I just know it's going to happen. So I just feel like having that desire and your like just that belief and like confidence in yourself and your work, that's really all you really need to help with your patience, I guess. But obviously it's going to be hard still.
And then when the brand is built, you'll be able to sell the merch.
Oh yeah.
I'm joking. I mean, if that's your goal.
Maybe not shirts. I don't know. Maybe. I never thought of that.
I love your bracelets. Would you like make bracelets? Like minimalist bracelets?
You know, I never thought of that. But maybe we'll see. In terms of like art, like making things and like painting, I don't usually do, but I'll write.
Okay.
I'll write. I like to write. So,
So you read, what do you like to write usually?
poetry.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have some like on hand? Is it
Oh,
on your phone?
actually, I might have one on my phone. Yeah. I actually wrote a book, but I haven't published it or
Oh my
anything yet.
goodness.
But I'm planning on writing more. It everything that I do creatively, it really kind of ties together. Like my YouTube channel is about my life and like growing, and my books are also about my life and growing, like
Wow.
basically. So, yeah.
Do you know a line? Like, have you memorized a line that you've written?
Um,
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
I have so many. Like the book's like 150 pages.
Wow, that's impressive. And it's not published.
No, I wrote it when I was 18.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
I can show you
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally fine. I would just go like around the camera.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, poetry time.
I'll do an inspirational one because there's some sad ones in there.
You should do one sad, one inspirational. Do you have a stage name? Like, do you have a pseudonym? Okay.
Just Angelene.
Gotcha.
I thought about it, but then I was like, you know, I actually like my name. I think I want to keep it just as Angelene. Sorry, it's loading.
No worries.
Okay.
I think poetry is super dope. So
Yeah, I love poetry. I love reading poetry. Okay.
poetry time.
So this one is one I wrote about a breakup I had like years ago, because I wrote this when I was 18. So this was like way back when. Well, I'm 22 now. I don't know if I ever said that. I'm 22. But okay. So it says, "It's been a while since I've heard a storm like this, since I've felt a love like yours. Some time has gone by, but I continue to wonder if you remember me like I remember you, or if the storm's ultimate goal is to let the sun shine through again. All I really know is I would stop my sun from shining just to let you rain, because I would go back and love you over and over again, even if it ends in pain." And then I titled it "My Perfect Storm." So that's a sad one.
I kind of want to pull up my like novel prose now.
Actually, I'll just read you the very last one.
Yeah, go for it.
So this is the very last poem in my book that I wrote. "In order to get to the person I am today, I've had to endure many difficult challenges and heartaches, much like the person reading this now. But this is hardly the end for us, not even close. For 18 years I've walked this earth, yet every day starts to feel like the first time. And I know more challenges await you in your adult life. I just hope you don't forget about me. Let this be where you come back to remember where you came from. Let this be where you tell the love of your life of me, and to tell your children of all of your young stories. Let this be where you rest me for good, for I am now a part of your past, but I'll always follow you in your heart, urging you to keep moving forward and cheering you on towards pure happiness and success. You deserve it." And I titled it "Love Past Me."
Wow. I always love how like written, because so I mean there's a reason I picked up photography, videography.
Mm-hmm.
I can't draw like for shit, so it's really bad. When I was in 6th grade, actually, I love telling the story to like my close friends that haven't heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in 6th grade, I don't even remember her name, but I was super proud of drawing stick figures.
Uh-huh.
Like stick figures were my jam. I was
Okay.
like, hey man, like these stick figures are gonna take over the drawing universe. It's just that confidence. So I walk into class and everybody has like these beautiful, like for whatever middle school, 6th grade standards, but they were actually pretty decent. Like they were better than mine. Mine were just stick figures. And she crouched down and kind of like out of pity, just, honey, I don't think you belong here. And
Oh no.
yeah, it just broke my heart into a million pieces.
Oh
My
God.
stick figures were no good. So I decided to move on to music, and because of music, it's kind of led me to here. Because
Okay.
actually, on the first podcast I ever had, Coach Adam talks about how music and art, it's like not a competition. There's no winning.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of just pander to a certain audience,
Yeah.
or they like don't like it.
Yeah.
So I love. Why didn't you publish? Why didn't you publish? Is it the spotlight effect? Is it imposter syndrome? Come on, Angelene.
I don't know. I think I haven't put priority into it, to be honest,
I gotcha.
because I told myself, I was like, I'm going to publish this year. I'm going to be an author at 18. That's going to be crazy.
4 years later.
Yeah, literally 4 years later. But I don't know. And then just the years gone by, and I just haven't been writing, to be honest, because writing is a very, like, it's a very interesting passion of mine, because it's a hobby for sure, but like I can't do it unless I'm in the right headspace too, because writing for me helps me cope with a lot of things. It helps me find closure with a lot of things that have happened in my life. And after 18, a lot of things happened. And I've written a little bit since then. Like I've definitely written like a handful or two of poems, but not full books, because it's hard for me. Like when I wrote that book, I was like, I have 3 chapters in that book. One of them is a really sad chapter. And I kind of had to put myself back into that place to write about it. And it was hard. Like it made me sad all over again. But now I have closure for it. But I don't know. I think it's hard for me to just really just take the time. And plus I want to write maybe like 1 or 2 more before I try to publish again, or try to actually publish. So I have something like kind of like a buildup of things.
I
Not
gotcha.
just come, because I'm not like a big author or anything. So if I had a little bit more, maybe people would want to read more.
I gotcha. So my friend Brendan is an aspiring singer-songwriter, and I kind of hate him for this because I think he has the voice of an angel.
Okay.
If you were to ever hear him sing, it's so bright and airy. Like it's got that like Justin Nozuka vibe. I'm trying to think of like another, kind of like Justin Timberlake almost, where it's
Wow.
like, yeah, like it's very airy. Like it's smooth like butter. There's no, yeah, and he's really good. But he's like, yeah, I can't release these songs yet. And it's like, why not? But sorry. The point I was getting to was because he has this mantra that I have adopted, and the mantra was action done and repetition become the subconscious mind. So, I don't know, whenever I see an artist or a creative not doing, and I get it, like you're already on YouTube, like you're creating, but this, I feel like you'd regret it.
I
Like,
know.
years go by, and you're just gonna regret not publishing
I
a
know.
poetry book.
I
you
need
know?
to find an agent or something,
Yeah.
or
Well,
self-publish, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wish I had like a plug for you and be like, yeah, I know a guy.
I know a guy.
I don't. Otherwise, I would have.
No, guys.
But can I read you my prose?
Yeah.
For my novel, because
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
we're
on the
nerding
top.
out about
Yeah. We're writers up here.
So, I'm more of a fiction novelist.
Okay.
And okay, I guess this one's almost like kind of like risque. But this is called A Night Alone. So a premise: the main character of my story had to leave his fiance to save her life, and he meets her again, and they're alone in a room together. So there's like a lot of like sexual charge and like it being romantic. But he's he realizes that he's either not worthy, or because like I think like with every breakup, if somebody were to come back to you, it's that hard decision of like, oh yeah, like this person can come back, but if you let them come back and they're an ex for a reason, what does that say about you? Unless the terms are right, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was kind of the same scenario where that happened to me in real life.
Okay.
So yeah, so it is called A Night Alone. So Dania stepped across the room carefully. Doubts and questions flooded her mind, but most of all, relief. I didn't want to leave, Ballard said, with a whisper that broke her heart. Then why did you? Dania whispered back. She cupped his face. Because you have your place, and I have mine. Ballard grabbed her hand. Your place was with me, and I've squandered it. Then make amends. Would you allow me to? Ballard asks. Dania pondered his words for a moment and took a deep breath. I wanted to feel chosen, without feeling like I was begging for it. Dania grabbed his chin, feeling the heat of her ex-fiancé's warm breath. Then let me prove I'm choosing you now. So yeah, that's like an excerpt.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that there is a creation of like art / writing in emotion, and because of emotion, that was definitely an emotion for me. Yeah. So
I can see that. A sucker for romance.
yes. If I actually publish my novel, I've hit writer's block for like 3 years.
Yeah.
I've been on chapter 16 for 3 years. But yeah, it is a science fiction fantasy adventure.
Ooh.
And I'm also a sucker for romance, but
Thrown in there.
yeah, just because like, it's traditionally also I've been like a one woman type man, so I guess I kind of wanted the main character to also have that, because people talk about love, but I think devotion isn't really written enough in fantasy. Like it's always this Geralt of Rivia playboy, you know, this guy who's like able to womanize a bunch of women.
Definitely.
But I wanted it to be like a fresh take on, I don't know if I want it to be young adult or if I want it to be like a mature standalone where there's like blood, guts, there's like a bunch of violence, et cetera, whatever makes an adult novel.
Yeah.
Or a mature novel, sorry, not an adult novel. I'm not trying to write erotica. But yeah, to pivot back to you and not
that
me.
was awesome though.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to read more.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to send you my manuscript.
Yeah,
honestly,
definitely.
Actually, hold on. Sorry, this is really selfish of me. Was my prose too purple? Like, was like what you were listening to? Was like, oh, this is like really descriptive. Like, you didn't have to add all this.
No. I think description is really good. It really just like paints the picture and really just shows, like, for me personally, like I can see the picture more. I can feel it more. Like I can feel the characters more. Feel their emotions.
Dope. Well, yeah. Let's move this back to you because this is this is a podcast about you.
I'm gonna start asking you questions.
Yeah. If you have any for me, feel free. But I wanted to ask, what do you think your purpose is?
My purpose in life?
Yeah.
I think my purpose in life is really just to inspire and create. Mostly create, and through my creation inspire. Because I love creating. I love art and music, and I just feel like there's so much art in everything around us, like even just these curtains, like there's just art in everything. And if I had patience to build, maybe I would, but yeah, just creating in general, creating a life too that's gonna make me feel fulfilled, and and I don't have to be happy all the time, because I know happiness is a fleeting emotion. We can't have it all the time.
Right.
But I want a life where I can be content and fulfilled with how I got there, my dreams and my desires, and also helping my family too, like giving back to them and giving them the life that they deserve as well. Even if it's just, experiences or, or just being somebody that they can talk to. Like, that's just really what I feel like is meant for me.
I ask that because I also want to segue into the investing side. So this isn't like a finance podcast. I don't know if I should shift into that niche, but
We'll see.
I guess we'll find out. But I've been a real estate investor for almost 4 years now.
Okay.
I wanted your conjecture, your projections, and not like your financial projections, but your opinions and advices for other people for finances. Because I'm a huge believer that people invest way too late.
Right.
I think if you're already investing now, you're ahead of probably like 90% of America, not our peer groups, not like America. I think the statistic was that 83% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So we're talking about doctors, lawyers,
that's crazy.
the top, the head honchos, right? When did you start investing, and what is your story behind investing?
Well, my dad used to always say, back when I was like 16 or 17, he was like, you should invest in this stock, you should invest in blank. And I was like, what do you even, like,
what's a stock?
What do you mean? Like, how do I even do that? And he's like, just give me $50 and then he'll put it in for me, and then we'll take it out a little bit. It was never anything crazy.
That's a good dad.
Yeah. My dad was really good at teaching me about money, like bills and everything, how to, be financially, like, smart. But in terms of investing, it was actually in 2020 when we had quarantine. And I was just so bored in my room all day. That's when I started YouTube again, because I was like, let me do my third phase of YouTube. Maybe I'm just bored. And then I was like, just sitting around, and I was like, how can I make some money right now? Just like, what can I do? And I think I was on YouTube, and it was like, 10 passive income ideas for, to stay at home or whatever. And I just clicked on it, and it was just something random. But then I looked at the comments, and someone was like, get into Forex investing or whatever. And I was like, what is that? I've never heard of that. And so I basically ran down that rabbit hole of YouTube where I was just like trying to figure out what Forex was. And for those of you that don't know, trading Forex is trading in the foreign exchange market, which is basically currencies against each other. So the US dollar against the yen, and basically their exchange rate. So like if the yen's at like if it's like 150, basically $1 is equal to 150 of yen or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, so basically you're just trading them against each other. And so I bought this course.
From who? From who?
Well, okay, so I was like, you know what, maybe I'm not going to buy a course, I'm just going to learn on YouTube. And I also bought 2 books, so I was like, okay, let me learn from this. But then I needed structure, because I was like, there's so much going on. So there was this one guy, his name's Nick DeFlorio. I like to call him my technical analysis mentor. But he's like all the way in Australia, so I've never met him in real life, but I have talked to him. So I learned how to trade technically, and that was back in 2020. But I was very inconsistent. I was very young, so I was like, I just wanted money quick. Like, I don't really care. Like, how do I make this money? And then I was very inconsistent. I lost a lot of money, and then I was like, maybe this isn't for me. Year goes by, I try it again, make a little bit of money, but not really. And I'm like, maybe this is not, I'll figure it out sometime. And then this year, I actually was on YouTube again, and I was like, I want to get back into trading. Like, there's something that just like keeps calling me back to this. specific thing, and maybe I just should give it another chance. And I found this, actually, his name's Nick as well. I found this fundamental analysis kind of sentiment mentor, I like to call him for myself. But his name is Trader Nick on YouTube. He's awesome.
I think I've heard of him.
For real?
Yeah.
Yeah. He live streams every day, so I get to like, it keeps me accountable just to like get up and go watch his live streams. But yeah, and I've just started from there, and I actually met him. I drove like 9 hours to Georgia to meet him and his crew for like this trading seminar.
He's in Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I know who he is.
Yeah. I met him and his crew and hung out with them and some Owanda people too, the broker. And ever since then, like, I'm not saying that I'm like set right now, but I've been way more consistent, and I've learned a lot more this year, like a lot more about what my strategy should be. And I actually enjoy it too. And it's crazy because, you know, everybody wants to just make money quick.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I actually enjoy learning about the charts. I enjoy learning about the economy.
The
like,
grind.
I enjoy like watching Jerome Powell just stand there and talk about the economy for like 30 minutes. Like, it's kind of weird, but
not at all.
I'm enjoying it. But yeah, it's one of my biggest goals to get better at that and to help in my financial comfortability too, to just be able to do what I want.
Yeah.
Travel, experience, travel with friends, travel with family, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff everyone wants, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Do I have your permission to ask probing questions?
Sure.
How much money did you lose at the height of like let's say like at the height of failure? How much money have you lost?
Like just of all time? I would say maybe like, it has to be like 3,000 or 4,000.
Okay.
Or 5. Somewhere up there.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, somewhere up there. Yeah.
Okay.
I've never blown my account or anything. Like I'm very good at like not risking too much. Yeah, like I risk a specific amount every time. So when I do lose, it's not like, oh my gosh, I just blew my entire account, you know? Like, I do not advise that.
Yeah.
One of my biggest mistakes is being a little too greedy and fearful. So like when I'm actually winning, I don't just pull out. I just let it keep running, and then I end up losing again. So
I was part of the GME fiasco. If you remember what that was, or do you know what it is?
I don't think so.
So it's when Wall Street bets made it onto the news.
Okay.
And I also, me and my brothers invested into GME. I think my older brother got in at like $6 or $7, but I got in at around 10. And I'm still holding the stock.
Like to this day?
Yeah, but technically, I think at its meteoric rise, I think when it hit like 3 something, I bought it at $13 or $15, and it shot right up to like the 300-ish mark.
That's good.
Yeah, I didn't sell because I really thought that it would moon. You know, I was just to the moon, baby. I was one of those guys. And to be fair, I used the stock market, and I would trade. I think Tesla was at like 150, but I was working part-time at a Pokeball shop. No, I'm sorry. I was working full-time at a Pokeball shop when I was still full-time active duty military.
Wow.
And then on top of that, like during my lunch breaks, I had tried to trade Tesla and I think it was Colgate for whatever reason. So I flipped enough to where like I could pay for a brand new roof for my first real estate investment. But yeah, if I had sold GME, I think I probably could have bought a Tesla outright.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm still holding it today, and I think that it was sitting at like I think like sub $2 at one point. I haven't checked my account, but I think it was sitting at $26. But from $26 for it to go to like 300 something to $26.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. So I know
The greediness.
Yeah.
That's a big one in traders. Traders have greed and fear. Those are the two biggest mistakes in traders.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, do I regret it? No, because I'm part of history. But if I had pulled out of GME, I probably could have bought another rental property. I could have put down 3.5%, 5% on an FHA. But yeah, that was my trading experience. Now I just solely focus on real estate, and I focus more on the like buying S&P 500 stocks.
Yeah.
Why don't you do that? This is the probing question that I want to ask.
I only trade currencies right now, but I have been wanting to trade the S&P 500 and the NAS. But the reason why I haven't is because I need a separate broker for it, because I could trade it on the broker I have right now, but I think the spreads are really high, so I'd be paying a lot more in commission to like the broker.
Really?
Yeah, so I would have to split my money between that broker and then the other broker just to trade NAS and the SPY and then currencies separately.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think I can trade the currencies on there too. So I could technically just like flip everything, but I've just been set in this one broker for so long that I'm just like kind of comfortable there. So I'm waiting till I get to a point in my like account where I feel comfortable enough to split it and put it in that. But yeah.
Have you ever just considered dropping the Forex trading and then just slowly investing? Because like the Warren Buffett method?
Yeah, I have thought about that too. Like just just kind of compounding, just like the NASDAQ or something.
Over time?
Yeah, I have thought of that. I just haven't put it into play yet.
Is it the greed?
Honestly, maybe. I don't know. I'm really enjoying lately trading currencies against the yen.
Okay.
The yen, like I only trade against 4 pairs. So like the US dollar, of course, the British pound, the euro, and the yen. Just because it's easier to keep up with their central banks, and they kind of go together in a way. Like the euro and the pound move kind of the same way sometimes, and the yen, fundamentally, their economy is just very like, let's just keep the rates where it is, we're not moving. And so basically anything against the yen right now has been great to trade. Like the euro yen, the pound yen, and the dollar yen. Like I just had a euro yen trade last week, and it was beautiful. I was like, thank you. Thank you, yen.
Thank you, Japan.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I'm going to switch into indices at some point.
Eventually.
Yes, I need to. I also thought about prop firm trading, but I heard a lot of things about prop firm trading that I'm not sure yet.
I'm not too knowledgeable on prop firm trading, especially once I made my exit out of, I'm not completely out of the stock market, but once I made my exit out of the trading life, I was just like, I'm putting everything into a Roth IRA and into like index funds like the VTI, the VU.
Yeah.
But what's your hesitation with prop trading?
I just hear that there's just like a lot of different regulations, and then like they have really strict rules and like time slots to abide by. And although it might bring like structure and accountability, it brings a lot of pressure. And I think trading, there shouldn't be any pressure in trading. Like you shouldn't be pressured to give yourself like, I'm going to make this amount of money. I'm going to make this amount of money. Like I need to make this by the end of this week or by the end of this day. Or I need to make this many trades in 1 week. Like that's what, like, I think that's where you see a lot of losses, to be honest. But the people that actually get paid out and actually make it work, like that's great. Like, I respect it. But for me, I don't know if I can handle that pressure right now. Like, maybe if I was a more consistent trader, maybe, but
I'm not sure.
yeah.
Wow. What comes next after the trading?
Like,
Are you planning to just trade forever? I would imagine that that's not the case. Like, is the hope to eventually move into real estate, to liquidate, to...
okay. Yeah, I want to trade, you know, as long as I can to become financially stable and yeah, independent. But I do want to invest in real estate too. I want to have my own business one day. Like, I have some dreams that take this foundation for me to get first, I would say. So yeah, I thought about getting a real estate license. I thought about like, you know, the Airbnb things that I see on like Instagram. They're like, oh, you can just start your own like Airbnb, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just start that. Like, it's not that
so
easy.
high, yeah.
So, but yeah, I want to learn more about all that too. Yeah. But one step at a time for me.
Yeah, I love how you're not. I think Layla Hormozi talks about how the most successful entrepreneurs she thought was going to surpass them, they just shat the bed because they kept moving. For example, if you were one of the people that she's talking about, like you would have moved into Forex, real estate, and then to like, I don't know, like cybersecurity sales.
Yeah.
And then, but she was saying that the person that sticks with something the most and then finds a decent yield, then has like the permission to try to adjust. But I'm a fan of if you, I mean, kind of like right now, like with YouTube or even like with this podcast thing, I told myself that I have to try to do this for as much time as possible. In your opinion, when do you feel like you've reached like your risk threshold? Like you're like, okay, like I need to wipe the slate clean. Like I'm going to stop investing into like Forex. I need to stop like YouTube. Like what would you say is that time frame?
Like, I would stop it. Like, are you talking about like if I just stopped in general? Like I quit?
Yeah, like if you had to quit. Like the ROI was not positive. Like you're just like,
I see what you're saying. I don't know. I feel like I've already done that, honestly. Like I started YouTube when I was in 8th grade, and I quit when I was like a year later, and then I started again in like when I started college. I started again when I was 18, and then I quit again, and now I'm starting again. And then trading, it's like I started back in 2020, and
but you've been consistent.
Yeah.
Since then.
Well, I haven't been consistent. Like I had stopped trading in mid 2020, and then I started again 2021, and then stopped, and then it was just like every time I stop, and I always come back to these things. Like I realized I was doing a lot of like self-reflection, and I was like, what are the things that I just keep going back to in my life? And it's always the YouTube creating. It's always learning about the economy and trading, and then the gym. I love the gym. But I just don't think there's a point for me to stop anymore. Like I feel like I've done that. I feel like I've stopped, and I think back then it was because I wasn't making the ROI I wanted. Like I wasn't getting anything in return. I wasn't making any money. I wasn't seeing any views. I wasn't like
wasn't fast.
Yeah, and the strategy that I had for trading, it was like I was like, I'm doing it. Why is it not working? Like so I'm just done. Money? I'm just like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
But now I'm seeing like better views. I'm seeing better engagement, and I'm also seeing more consistent trades. And even with the trades that I lose or the trades that I kind of like plan out that I don't actually take, I understand the mistake I make, and the ones that I plan out that don't actually make, like I don't actually enter in, they end up like going the way I wanted to mostly. So I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the potential already. So I think I just want to see it through now. I don't think I want to stop.
So since you're already in the YouTube space and you have some financial expertise, why not just merge the two?
Like do Forex on YouTube?
I mean, I guess you could actually, yeah. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from talking about the pros and cons of why you should trade or should not trade Forex. Yeah. But I even mean just like if we were to have a sit down conversation on how to trade, I would ask you so many questions from the top and then say I wouldn't know what to do. Like why not create I guess stick with minimalism, like since you're already in the niche, but why not just add finance? Has it been an argument in your head?
Yeah. Cuz it's like I don't know. I don't want to do too much on the channel, to where it's like people are like, who is she?
What niche is this?
Like, what is this? So in my videos, I talk about trading because I'm in my vlogs. I'll be like, yeah, I'm trading today. I'm looking.
Just add that in. Just add it in. Like, that's my personal opinion. I think if it's already kind of part of your brand in a vlog, give it a shot. Because I know that the personal finance niche is so like minute, it's really tiny. Okay, hold on. Let me backtrack. It's not as competitive to flourish in compared to, I don't know, like let's say you want to be the next Mr. Beast or hell, even podcasting, there's everybody and their mom has a podcast. Yeah,
and Forex is a lot of people don't really know about Forex either. And it's pretty interesting how I just figured it out a couple years ago, and then I tell people like, oh, I trade Forex, and they're like, what? Like stocks? And I'm like, no, currencies. And they're like, what? So I've had to explain it many times. So yeah, I have thought about maybe throwing it in there, like, what I do as a trader, why? But I mean, I feel like I'm not an expertise or anything, but at the same time, I'm like, people want to see the work in progress, so I need to live up to how I've been saying, like, I want to be the work in progress, and I want people to see that you start somewhere. But I don't know. I guess a part of me is afraid to talk about that type of topic because a lot of people have a lot to say about trading and then just like finance in general. And I guess I just haven't been open to the controversial comments that I'll be getting soon if I put that up there. Yeah, but then again, I shouldn't care. So.
Yeah. I want to look if because there's this Gary V quote that I look at. It was documentation is easier than creating. So I mean, if you're already in it, food for thought.
True.
You could be like Angelene Educator for Forex. Yeah. Or you could be Nick the Trader. Just in this case, you'd be the educational resource.
True.
But
True.
Obviously I'm not gonna tell you what to do. You do you. You do you. Yeah. But food for thought.
Yep. Definitely an idea. I've been pondering.
But so we're hitting closing time, unfortunately. But do you have any closing thoughts? Any questions for me? Any last minute comments?
I'm better at answering. I would say, I guess for you, like, what's your goals, I guess, for this podcast? Like, what, I know you're putting it on, Spotify, trying Apple, and on YouTube, but is it going to be like what's next for you too? Like, once this takes off?
Yeah, so I love the question because I was actually here at the 757 startup studios. I think her name was Evans, and she's a lawyer, but she's also the director of 757 Collaborate. So this entire building is a standalone place, but downstairs there's a startup called 757 Startup Studios. So I went to the seminar, and she actually asked me the same thing. It was like, what's next? And I kept telling her that I just want to interview people who I think are interesting, who have, I think, good insight. I'm like about to burp. Yeah. But don't get me wrong. I would love to be able to start interviewing like keynote speakers like James Clear or like maybe David Goggins in the future.
Okay.
But funny enough, I'm making it my I want to say like my 5-year goal is to interview like Graham Stephan. If you know who that is.
Yeah,
on YouTube.
the real estate guy.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah, because he has a podcast called the Iced Coffee Hour. That would be like my goal, is to do this enough to where I get to talk to Graham Stephan or maybe eventually Alex or Layla Hormozi. I think it's the desire is to move in proximity to the goal that I have. And as of right now, it's to talk to people who I think are inspiring, whether it's in their community, whether it's mass fame but I've already hit my milestone goal. Actually, just yesterday, I interviewed the founder of MapQuest.
Yeah.
His name was Chris Hively.
Okay.
So that's one big name down.
Yeah.
And actually what was really funny is he was the big person who was telling me like to stop feeding into imposter syndrome because I do that a lot. Actually, I would even say like even meeting you, I was like, oh my God, like she does YouTube. Like I'm never going to get on her level. And that was the mindset that I had because you've been doing it for so long. But I also realized that like everybody's human, like you're human too. So my biggest goal for the podcast moving forward is just keep doing it. Actually, not even to develop like a sticky audience. Like if I get like 800 people that are like down to listen to it, like every episode comes out, like I'm successful.
That's awesome.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
I think like I checked on Buzzsprout, like my first episode got I think like 45 to 50 just downloads on Spotify.
I mean, that's a lot of people.
Well, and I was like, I wasn't even expecting that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
For me, when it comes to views on YouTube, and it's like kind of like a lower amount than like my other videos. Like say my other videos get a couple thousand, but this one gets 100, or this one gets like 250, and I'm like, dang, that's a lot lower. But then I think about it this way. I'm like, if 200 people were in a room with me right now, they're all just watching my video.
It's a lot.
Or like 45 people
Yeah.
in a room right now listening to your podcast. That's a lot of people.
And that was just Spotify.
Yeah, and you don't even know, like, I mean, obviously, we don't know how long they listened or anything, but at the same time, it's still like somebody came in, and like it's like somebody walking by and coming inside of your store. Like, they walked in. Like, okay, you noticed me. That's crazy.
Yeah. It gives a deeper sense of validation.
Yeah. For
sure. That most people generally starve for, I would say. Not that I'm like notice me, senpai, but it is nice.
Yeah,
it is nice, and it's what I'm striving to do. So.
I did want to ask another question about your YouTube channel, because I know you have this like podcast going. Is your YouTube channel going to have just like the videos of your podcast on it, or are you trying to move into maybe different content on the channel too? So
that's actually a question I wanted to ask you too, for sure, was if I keep Deseo Media Company YouTube channel just as it is, because like, which I think is not too bad, because in its first month it has like 30 subscribers. And I was like, oh, let's go, 30. But I actually wanted to do, sorry. Let me
got all these thoughts coming.
I'm like geeking out. So I was planning to make a video called "The Reasons I Bought a Shitty Car." So I drive a like 2008 like Rice Racer Honda Civic.
Okay.
And it was $6,000. So what I was planning to do was to like rent a Corvette or like something like just bonkers, like expensive. I was gonna come in and be like, hey guys, like what's up, this is the day in the life of a media startup CEO, because that's essentially what I have. And it was going to be like flexing, like just hardcore flexing. And then like somebody on my staff or like one of my friends would come and be like, hey bro, like I need the car back. Like I really need the car back.
Oh my gosh.
And I do have like a trench coat that I really love, and I only wear on like special occasions. And be like, can I get the coat too? And be like, I need the coat. Be like, no you don't. All right, bro, I really gotta go. Like, here's the like just give me the car.
Oh my gosh.
And he would like pull up in my Honda Civic, which I love like to death, but the aesthetic compared to like this, I don't know if I get lucky to get a Corvette or I don't know, something that's nicer than like a 2008 Honda Civic, right? And it would go from there. And I would then talk about in depth how buying this $6,000 car got me to having 3 properties. And like 2 rental properties specifically.
Okay.
So it's like stuff like that, like adding the humor modicum and then like the humor and like educational piece.
Yeah.
So it's
living
like,
below your means.
Yeah, that I don't think a lot of people just don't. It's just an American construct to drive the nicest car
or to look so perfect. Like I have this perfect like aesthetic, this perfect house, this perfect living, Pinterest inspired living room, all this stuff. Like that's a lot of time. Like minimalism has really taught me too that time is very valuable as well. I mean, obviously we know that, but like minimalism has made me realize the effort that I need to be putting into the things that actually matter. Like the reason why I don't have a crazy car or I don't have like the most beautiful room decorated or anything is because I have to put time into that. I have to put time into finding all of these things to decorate and all of these new clothes or whatever. And that's a lot of time that I could be putting into other things.
Yeah.
And I think it's the 80-20 principle book.
Yeah.
How if you put 80% of your effort into 20% of the things that you do, then that 20% like just compounds immensely. But when you spread that out, like there's so many different things, it's hard to just like really compound a lot of things. So yeah, living below your means and really just focusing and honing in on the things that just like are your biggest goals in life. Like what is the steps, what is the systems I need to take to get there? That's all you really need to do, you know? And that's awesome. I think that would be a good video. And I think I would click on that video. I would click on it. If I didn't know you, I would.
I appreciate it. I know that, well, one big thing that I'm trying to work on is like the podcast videos itself. I also know will get more and more views as my research gets better. So the thumbnail is literally just a clip of the podcast.
Yeah.
Which I know is what I should not be doing. But I think, not that it was a mistake, but I think what I should have done, like, if I could have done it differently, instead of trying to take on monthly clients or to take on clients like to do photo shoots and video shoots, to just like go all in on my podcast, on the show. But I also know that I've been posting, and I don't ever plan to stop, but to post consistently every Friday at 12 p.m. Just like
that's literally my schedule. That's my
my
upload
gosh.
schedule every Friday at 12 p.m.
Wow, that's crazy. EST?
Yeah.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah,
What
I
a
was trying to do
coincidence.
Mondays and Fridays, but I ended up there was just stuff going on, so I was like, let me just do Fridays at 12.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So look out for our video.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Friday.
That'd be
That's
great.
so funny. I had another question though.
Yeah.
Just why, I guess, like why this podcast of growth? Auxano is the causes of growth, right? What prompts you to make this podcast, to like talk to people and get really deep? Because I personally am a really deep person as well, and I know my reasons for being deep is just because I'm very emotional. I've gone through a lot of things in my life, and I just want to hear about other people. It helps me feel understood, and it helps them feel understood, and I just love to just have great conversations with people. And so I want to know, like, what happened? I guess not like what happened, but like what prompts you? What calls you to this?
Well, it is a what happened, unfortunately. So my best friend, one of my best friends at the time, his name was Hanson Kang. He died when we were 18.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's kind of crazy because even though that was so long ago, we were both 18, and I just turned 26 like last month. I say that there was a lot of unspoken words. So if I'm telling the truth on why I started this, is I think that at any point tomorrow I could die, and no tomorrow is promised to anybody. if I could have these conversations on a bookshelf and inspire other people long after I'm gone, maybe to my future kids or future wife, maybe to my brothers, maybe to my nephews and nieces, that'd be great. And if it's just them listening to the guided wisdom from other people, not even just me, but it takes a village to raise anybody. Like people say it takes a village to raise a kid. I do think that people can change. And it takes a village to maintain the chassis of who we are today. But I actually shout out to Taylor Kilpatrick, who had me on her podcast, Authentic AF. I also gave her this answer. The reason I'm started Auxano, is because I actually am a fan of the word sonder. Sonder is coined by John Koenig, and it means everyone you see is the main character of their own story. So you have lived an increasingly visceral, perhaps even grueling experience that I have also can relate to. Like there is so much like grit you have to live life.
Right.
So everybody you see is the main character of their own story. Oftentimes though, like let's say the volleyball group that you have would be your supporting cast.
Right.
I look at myself in anybody's life and wouldn't even really mind not having that honor. I akin myself more to a lamppost of light on the dark side of the road or a well-lit rest stop while you were waiting for the bus. Whether or not you needed my presence or whether or not you needed me in your life at a specific point in time, I was in that world. I was there.
Wow.
So that's really why I started Auxano. A cause of growth is not linear, and a cause of growth is a catalyst for something that sometimes is unseen and unheard, kind of like the chair by most people. It was just there.
Yeah.
But if it was just there and you needed to use it, you needed to lean on it. A chair is technically used for support. That's really what I wanted Auxano to be, was a cause of growth for other humans. Not only just for other humans, though, for myself. Because I genuinely enjoy talking to, like, if Steve Jobs were in the room, I would want to talk to you just as much. And that goes for anybody across the board. In my personal reflections, I think life is also too short to leave words unsaid, as Hansen taught me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, a bit of a long-winded answer, but that is like the full circle story of why I started it. Among other like traumas, etc. It feels like I have to do it, as opposed to like a desire or want. It's more of like when I was in the military and I realized I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. There was a deep cognitive dissonance of like saying fuck this, fuck that, left and right.
Yeah.
Just constantly. Being very bitter. Also not following what I felt was purpose.
I definitely understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me with a lot of things I do too. You know, I feel like it's just a mix of the things I went through, the traumas, like you want to release it, you want to get it out there, you want to maybe hopefully help somebody if they're in the same position, or even just by hearing it, even if they're not in that position, just by being exposed to that story helps them become a little bit more grateful for their life, or maybe living more like just, you know, live life a little bit more just by hearing it. And that's really awesome. Yeah. I've been wanting to know why.
It's an honor that you asked.
Yeah.
It is a deep honor that you asked.
I know that there's always a reason behind it. Like, I'm very deep, so like I'm like, there's got to be a deep reason behind this, and I just
absolutely
need to know.
Yeah, just
That's awesome.
And a short story would just be like a result of trauma.
Yeah.
Dealt when I experienced when I was a child.
And honestly, that's what creates like the deepest and the most beautiful art, to be honest. Whether it's music, writings, you know, talking, podcasts, videos, pictures, literally anything.
Well, what an honor to be spoken about in that way. It means a lot.
Of course. And it's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
I'm just happy to be here.
Just all for the right.
Just
Yeah. For closing thoughts, what life advice, or what advice would you give to people who are too obsessed with consumerism? And then what life advice would you give to people who should invest more?
I would say for consumerism, there's definitely nothing wrong with wanting things, and you should never feel guilty for buying anything that you want and desire in that moment. I think just some advice when you feel, I guess, called to purchase or called to, be consumed, whether it be even like with things, like purchasing things, but consumed by people, like consumed by a relationship or a toxic situation. I think just my advice would be just to sit back and think about, like, what do I feel is right now, because everybody has their gut feelings, and if you feel in that moment like this isn't right for me, then you should just take yourself out of that completely and immediately. And I promise, like, if you always follow your gut feeling, you're never going to be steered wrong. And I've had my fair share of not following my gut feeling and just completely just feeling just totally disrespected by myself, like, afterwards. Like, there's just like literally it'll come back around to me every time, and I learned that the hard way. But yeah, in terms of actually purchasing things, is this what I need in my life? Like, just ask these questions. Do I need this? Is this really what's going to make me happy in the long term? And is this quality going to last me? If it's something I really want, is the quality of this going to really bring value to my life and actually last and be efficient? In terms of investing, if you have money in your account, invest. Like, it's not doing anything in your bank account. If anything, it's probably going to be used by the things that you want to consume. So if you put it towards an investment or a stock or anything, then you'll be more inclined to think to yourself, like, this money doesn't even exist in my bank account. This money doesn't even exist, but it's existing right now, and it's compounding for you right now, so that you can have more in the future, to be happier and give more and have more experiences later on. But starting off, you should definitely, this is a really long answer, I'm so sorry, but I talk a lot. But if you're just starting out, it can be very complicated and confusing. So I would say, hit up the YouTubes, like what is the best things to invest in right now? But don't buy anybody's courses unless they're very trustworthy, but a lot of people are scammers out there. So the very basic things like stocks or a Roth IRA or whatever, it's definitely good to invest in.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on Auxano. It was a pleasure to have you.
It was a pleasure being here, Bo. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Like, this is awesome.
I'm glad. Thank you.
And you're gonna do really great things
Thank you.
on this podcast. I really believe it.
I will work exponentially hard to be worthy of those affirmations.
You are already.
Thank
Just
you.
gotta take it.
Thank
Believe
you.
it.
Thank you. Well, guys, this is Auxano, and as per usual, be well and walk tall.